Hey, what's up everybody? Welcome back to another VTuber reaction. Today we have Blooming in the Mud by HAKOS and TOWA. This song has gotten a lot of requests over the last two videos, and I just decided to get to the other one from HAKOS first, so I had an introduction to her sound and feel on her own, and now that I know both of them, I'm ready to listen to this duet that they have. I'm aware that this is a cover, of course, the comments clarify that, but at the same time, I'm still very interested to hear how these voices blend together and how their feels, because their voices are pretty different in tone, but also similar enough I could see it working really well as a duet. So I guess without further ado and enough yapping, let's go! It's worth noting I have not heard the original version of this either, so this will feel like a fresh song for me. It's gonna hit me in the feels, isn't it? I'm realizing I'm just smiling. I'm already like enraptured by this. Like, it sounds gorgeous already. We don't even have a duet part technically yet. Ooh, interesting drum fill for the lead in there. I'm waiting to hear their blend. Build it up. Hell yeah. Nice fill on the drums there. Very short and sweet. Ooh, a little marching break. Keeping the chick on the hi-hat. Doing it right. Oh, God. I thought it was already built up as much as it could be. Everything is kind of settling out again until you knew it was coming back around for one more. This is gorgeous. The tone on the snare drum is kind of interesting too. I'll get more into that later, but God, the exponential limit of this build-up. They haven't stopped yet. Holy shit. Yeah, their voices blended perfectly. Like, I'd only heard HAKOS do her, like, more aggressive vocals, really. But she softened it up quite a bit at that first part. She was really playing into that tone and matching TOWA very, very well. So initial shout out here to the original creator of the song, Wolpus Carter, an amazing composition here. I love the flow all the way through. It's pretty standard as far as the construction of the song goes. The pattern of each section of the song is pretty bog standard. Their pop style especially follows a very formulaic approach when it comes to that song structure, but that does not mean it's a bad thing. And what really makes each song shine in that genre is knowing when and where to place certain things, like that spot where it dipped down, it took all the energy away, it allowed you to kind of regain some sense of a build-up, and coming back in with one final refrain to really sell that chorus and send the message home of the song altogether. Just a really good composition. It may be bog standard, like I said, it may be pretty stereotypical, but that does not mean it's done poorly by any means. The main thing I want to compliment when it comes to the song, though, is I believe the arrangement for this, done by somebody called fu-rin, an amazing accompaniment track here. I'm not sure if they completely remade the accompaniment or if they used the one from the original song and just borrowed their work, but the hi-hat being used on a constant chick to keep the beat while the marching snare was happening, that's a very human thing. That's a very organic approach to the drums, and that just shows either a very programmed, respectful part in the drums, which I always love. A lot of programmed drummers don't necessarily understand how the kit is played, and they miss little details like that and won't put them in. But then there are some people who just go all out with it, and they know exactly what they want to include to make it feel natural. And consistently, the VTuber scene has had some amazing arrangements that include all of those extra details. So I assume that's either they're hiring a drummer to re-record the parts and do them properly as a drummer would, and they're adding those little human organic flavors to it, or they're just paying really close attention and showing their love of the art and actually putting in that effort themselves, even in the program. The tone of the snare, like I mentioned during the reaction, was kind of interesting too, because it was a lot more pingy. And by pingy, I just mean the tone in the drum. There is a lot of overtone in this drum, which basically just means there's a lot of frequencies on the high end that usually you don't want included, that were included here, but because of the overall sound in the mix, it kind of worked. Like, I could notice that they were in there. It was a little bit sharp, but at the same time, it didn't feel out of place, which is usually why people remove overtones, because they muddy up the mix especially. You want those out of there most often. So having those in there was pretty bold, and having it cranked so high to have such a crack to it, there was this nice balance there where it felt like a mid-tuning, like a middle ground tuning on the snare, but it had enough overtones that it felt like it was just cracky enough. It had just enough of a snap to it that it felt really good. And as a drummer, I adore it when people actually throw in little characteristics of drums like that instead of just ripping all of the sound and all of the organic feel out of a drum kit to make it sound very produced and over compressed. And while that's perfectly fine, you definitely have to work to your genre. That's what I think that they did well here, was actually approaching the genre from a fresh point instead of just going, I've got a pre-mixed drum kit here, I'll just use that. They actually readjusted it, they put in those frequencies that usually you would remove, and that's really nice. So I've got to give my big shout out to the composer, and if not, the arranger, for putting those in there and keeping that alive. That adds so much to the song subconsciously that a lot of people wouldn't notice and don't notice, but it does feel very, very organic, and it's just nice to have. And of course, now on to their singing. Amazing on the blend here. I kind of mentioned it at the very end of the reaction, but their vocal blend was perfect. I, again, have only really ever heard HAKOS in their one song doing Psycho, and I'm like, okay, you know what? That sounded great. A little bit more rocky, a little bit more grungy. That's perfectly fine. I kind of assumed that that was more her style, but I didn't really expect this, which had a lot more of the open tonality to it. There was a lot more warmth in her voice, and even though there were spots in there where you could feel their voices kind of getting thinner, especially on the higher notes, both TOWA and HAKOS have this tendency to kind of pinch in the same away vocally, so it blended really nice when they were singing together especially, and just working together, it was a perfect blend. These two are like the ideal vocal pair for me when it comes to the tonality match and the flavor profile, because Towa can also do that rocker sound, and she can also soften it up a bit, so that's kind of what they did here, and it's just nice to hear them both listen to each other and blend between and not have any of that fighting with the vocal tone, which does happen sometimes. I have seen a few random like VTuber group song covers before in the past, and sometimes vocally people just don't line up well. I can't even remember what songs they were, but it's that sort of thing where you have too many vocalists, kind of too many cooks in the same kitchen, and things just are not piecing together quite right. Covers like that more exist just for the fan service of it all and the fact that they're singing a song together, so they really don't have to worry too much about matching all of these tones and making it really nice and cohesive in a mix. But these two together alone sound beautiful, and I love their attention to detail on that front, and their harmonies were so good. And even when they weren't doing harmonies, they sounded almost like the same person in a way, and that's really cool. I just love that they work together for this, because I didn't fully expect them to sound as good as they did together, but I didn't think they would sound bad either. I just didn't know where they would land on that expectation of me. I guess it was just kind of throw it to the wall, see what sticks in my head, and boy did it ever stick. That was awesome. I did also see the top of the description for this video where HAKOS said that she got to sing with one of her singing idols, and that was like a big event for her, and I'm not sure how much of that is like written for her, if she does that herself, if her team does it, however that works. But if true, HAKOS, girl, you are not in any way under Towa when it comes to skill and quality. Your voice is right up there. I have no difference of opinion when it comes to your skills between each other. I know you're never going to see this video. That's fine too. Towa is an amazing vocalist. I love how she sounds. HAKOS, you're right up there. You are nowhere near the whole like, well, she's my idol. It's like, girl, you are on the same pedestal. How dare you think less of yourself? You know, like, I hope she doesn't. I truly hope that HAKOS is like aware that she's as talented as she is, and that there isn't some sort of an imposter syndrome keeping her down, because I've said this in other videos in the past. I get that feeling. I have the same issue with imposter syndrome, even with my comparatively minuscule following to HAKOS, but it still happens, and I really hope that she's not feeling that way, because with that skill, that ability, that just raw talent, she definitely deserves everything when it comes to her vocal qualities, and I think that she needs just as much love singing as anyone else in the top rung, just like Towa. But I've also only ever heard 2 songs, so if there's any other songs you guys want me to get to from anyone else, or HAKOS, or Towa, you know, just anyone in the VTubing space, by all means, drop them in the comments below, and I will do my best to get to them next time. And of course, if you just like this video and you want to follow me and support me for more stuff in the future, you know how to do all that, and I will see all of you in the next video. Goodbye!